In today's biased news, ethnic cleansing continues in Nagorno-Karabakh, Ukraine continues to lose allies, and a literal Nazi and member of the Waffen-SS receives a standing ovation in Canada. Turkish President Erdogan has arrived in Azerbaijan for a meeting with the president amid a crisis in Nagorno-Karabakh. Thousands of ethnic Armenians have been fleeing the region following a military operation by Azerbaijan that began on September 19th. As of Monday morning, over 2,900 people had crossed into Armenia from Nagorno-Karabakh, with the Armenian Prime Minister and many observers around the world expressing concerns of ethnic cleansing. Observers expect about 120,000 civilians to flee to Armenia, which has called on the UN to establish a mission to monitor human rights and security in Nagorno-Karabakh. The history of the contested area is marked by decades of conflict and changing control among various regional powers, including Persians, Turks, Russians, Ottomans, and Soviets. It was initially claimed by both Azerbaijan and Armenia, and was an autonomous region within Azerbaijan before the dissolution of the USSR. The region's Armenians gained control during the First Karabakh War after the USSR's fall, leading to a prolonged conflict. Azerbaijan regained some territory in the 2020 war with Turkish support, which received criticism from Western countries. Armenia has accused Russia of failing to support them, leading to protests and calls for the Prime Minister's resignation in Armenia. This war, similar to the ones in Chechnya, Georgia, and currently Ukraine, could have been avoided if not for the illegal dissolution of the world's first truly international project, the Soviet Union. The power vacuum left over from its catastrophic demise has led to far-reaching global consequences, including unchecked genocide. After Poland recently retracted its military support from Ukraine due to what can be called a trade war, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán announced that Hungary will not support Ukraine in any international matters until Ukraine restores the former rights of ethnic Hungarians within its territory. The dispute between Budapest and Kyiv revolves around the alleged restrictions on the rights of approximately 150,000 ethnic Hungarians, particularly in their use of the Hungarian language in education. This issue emerged after Ukraine passed a law in 2017 that limited the use of minority languages in schools. Regardless of what one thinks of the current Russia-Ukraine war, Ukraine does show a worrying tendency to ban opposition and mistreat minority groups. Continuing with the Ukraine topic, Jewish rights groups, international observers, and an official spokesperson for Russia have criticized Canada's recognition of a Ukrainian veteran who served with the Nazi Waffen-SS unit during World War II. This recognition was called, quote, outrageous, and experts state that it's clear that Western countries, including Canada, have failed to adequately educate younger generations about the reality of fascism during the Second World War and its continued threat today. The controversy arose when the Canadian Parliament Speaker introduced Yaroslav Hunka as a Ukrainian-Canadian war veteran, who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians, failing to mention that he did so under the swastika, as a proud Nazi, who later didn't even have the courage to follow his leader into the afterlife, but instead ran away to Canada, where he spread anti-communist propaganda with multiple other Ukrainian fascists in exile. The Parliament Speaker apologized for her mistake of not being able to find a non-Nazi veteran who served against the Soviets in World War II. Funny how that works. In Ghana, at least 49 people were arrested during a protest aimed at storming the government seat, Jubilee House, in response to a prolonged economic crisis. Eyewitnesses reported that the police physically assaulted the protesters, who were dressed in red and black attire to express their frustration with the economic hardships in the country. Some journalists were also briefly detained and later released. The protests are part of a series of demonstrations against the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo due to the severe economic crisis in Ghana, marked by high unemployment, rising living costs, and a ballooning national debt. In today's lightning round, Stefanos Kasselakis, a 35-year-old former Goldman Sachs trader, has been elected as the leader of Syriza, the country's biggest left-wing party, causing significant surprise within the Greek left. His ascent to leadership has been meteoric, as he went from relative political obscurity to becoming the head of Greece's primary opposition party in just a month. Philippine authorities have strongly criticized China's Coast Guard for installing a floating barrier in a disputed South China Sea lagoon, and have pledged to take the necessary actions to have the barriers removed. Hollywood studios and their shareholders expressed relief as a tentative agreement was reached with striking screenwriters. The recently reached 3-year deal, the specifics of which remain undisclosed, is contingent on approval by the leadership of the Writers Guild of America and the union members. This approval process is necessary to formally bring an end to the strike. And finally, France has announced it will pull its troops out of Niger, ending a multi-month standoff in the region. And to end with some positive news, in a runoff election in Nordhausen, Germany, the far-right party Alternative for Germany, or AfD, failed to unseat the incumbent mayor. AfD candidate Jörg Profit received 45.1% of the vote, while the independent incumbent Kai Buchmann won with 54.9%. The AfD's growing popularity in the region has raised concerns among mainstream parties, as it's been associated with right-wing extremism, racial hatred, and historical revisionism. Nordhausen, located near a former concentration camp, played a significant role in the election. Profit's statements on Germany's past, including minimizing the liberation of the camp by Allied troops, had generated well-deserved controversy, and it's a relief to see AfD lose. That's all for today. We'll be back day after tomorrow with more news. If you'd like to see longer episodes with more in-depth analysis, consider becoming a patron so we can grow and expand.